It was my last day as a substitute teacher at Ridgewood Elementary, and I was running late. The school had already emptied out, kids rushing to buses, teachers chatting in the parking lot before heading home. But I still had to clean out the desk, pack up my things, and leave everything neat for the regular teacher. The janitor had even stopped by earlier to remind me the building would lock up at 6 p.m. sharp. I figured I had just enough time. The halls were eerily quiet, the kind of silence that makes you hyper-aware of every little sound. The hum of the fluorescent lights, the creak of my chair as I shifted. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, heavy like someone taking their time. My first thought was that the janitor had come back to check on me, but something about the rhythm felt off that I froze, listening. The footsteps weren't coming closer, just pacing like someone lingering at the far end of the hallway. My classroom door was slightly ajar, so I crept over and peeked out. The hallway was dim, half the lights already shut off for the evening. And there, at the very end, stood a figure. Just a shadow, really but tall, and completely still. My throat went dry. "Hello," I called out, forcing my voice to sound steady. No answer. The shadow didn't move. I blinked just once, and it was gone. My heart hammered as I stepped into the hallway, scanning the empty space where it had been. That's when I saw them, muddy footprints, fresh and wet, trailing down the hall, right up to my classroom door. They stopped at the threshold, as if whoever or whatever made them have been standing there, watching me before vanishing that I should have left right then. That's what any sane person would have done. But some stupid part of my brain convinced me there had to be an explanation. Maybe a student playing a prank or a parent who'd wandered in late. I followed the footprints, my sneakers squeaking against the linoleum. The mud was still damp, smeared in uneven streaks like whoever left them hadn't quite lifted their feet all the way. The trail led past empty classrooms, then suddenly veered toward the janitor's closet. The door was slightly open, which was weird because I'd seen the janitor lock it earlier. My hand shook as I reached for the handle. The second I touched the doorknob, something inside the closet shifted, a rustle like fabric dragging across the floor. I yanked my hand back like I'd been burned. That wasn't just a sound you could explain away. Something was in there. I backed up, my pulse roaring in my ears, and that's when I noticed the smell. Wet earth like the air after heavy rain, but underneath it, something sour, rotten. The hallway lights flickered once, twice, then stayed dimmer than before. The footprints, they didn't lead away from the closet. They led to it, like whatever made them had come from outside, walked straight to this door, and just waited. I don't know why I didn't just run. Maybe it was the teacher in me, that stupid instinct to check on things, to make sure everything was where it should be. But my legs felt locked in place. The closet door creaked open another inch on its own, like an invitation. Inside, it was pitch black, way darker than it should have been, like the light from the hallway refused to touch it. Then I heard breathing. Not mine. Something slower, wetter, like lungs working through fluid. I stumbled backward, my shoulders slamming into the lockers hard enough to leave a bruise. That's when the door swung all the way open. Nothing came out. No monster, no ghost, no late-night trespasser. Just that same impossible darkness, thick and swallowing. The smell got worse. Damp rot like old leaves left to decompose in a seal jar. And then, clear as anything, a voice. Not from inside the closet, from behind me. A whisper, right against my ear. "You stayed too late." I whirled around so fast I nearly fell. The hallway was empty, but the footprints, they were different now. Fresh, as if someone or something had just stepped out of the closet and walked past me while I wasn't looking at him. My body finally caught up with my brain. I ran. Not the calm, measured walk of someone who's just spooked themselves over nothing, but full-on panic sprinting. My bag smacked against my hip as I bolted down the hallway, my keys jangling wildly in my hand. The exit doors at the end of the hall seemed to stretch farther away the faster I moved. And then I heard it again, footsteps. Not mine, not human, something heavier, dragging slightly like boots caked in mud. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The push bar on the exit door was ice cold under my palm. I slammed into it, expecting to fly open, but it didn't budge. Locked. The janitor had said 6 p.m. It was 6:07. I fumbled with my keys, my breath coming in ragged gasps, my fingers so slick with sweat I could barely grip them. Behind me, the footsteps stopped. Just stopped. The air got thicker, harder to breathe. I risked one glance over my shoulder. The hallway was empty, but the floor, The floor was covered in those same damn footprints, crisscrossing like something had been pacing circles around me the whole time that I finally got the key in the lock, my hand shaking so badly I almost dropped it twice. The second the door clicked open, I threw my whole weight against it and stumbled outside into the parking lot. The cold night air hit me like a slap, but I didn't stop running until I reached my car. I fumbled with the door handle, my fingers numb, my breath coming in short, panic bursts. As I jammed the key into the ignition, I caught movement in my rearview mirror, a dark shape standing just inside the school's glass doors. Watching, not moving, just waiting. I peeled out of the parking lot so fast my tires screeched. I didn't look back, not once. My heart didn't stop pounding until I was on the highway, putting miles between me and that school. But here's the thing. When I got home and finally checked my bag, my hand still trembling, I found something inside that hadn't been there before. A single sheet of paper, crumpled like it had been clutched in a fist. On it, in shaky, childlike handwriting, were the words, "We don't like it when you leave." I called the school the next morning, my voice still unsteady. The secretary sounded confused when I asked if anyone else had been in the building after hours. "No one was supposed to be there," she said. "Not even the janitor. He left early yesterday for a doctor's appointment." My stomach dropped. I didn't tell her about the footprints, the whispers, the note. What could I even say? But then she added something offhand that made my blood run cold. Funny you mention it, though. The overnight security camera at the East Wing door triggered around 6:15 last night. Just for a second. But when we checked the footage, there was nothing there. I never went back, not even to collect the rest of my things. The regular teacher emailed me a week later asking where I'd left the attendance sheets, and I lied, said I must have misplaced them. Sometimes, though, when I'm alone in my apartment at night, I'll catch a whiff of that same damp, rotten smell, or hear the faintest creak of floorboards, like something heavy shifting its weight. And I can't shake the feeling that whatever was in that school didn't stay there. Because last week, I found another note tucked in my mailbox. Just 2 words, written in the same shaky hand. "Found you." It was supposed to be just dumb, harmless fun, the kind of thing you laugh about later. After our graduation party, half drunk on cheap beer and nostalgia, someone suggested breaking into our old elementary school. We'd all gone there as kids, and with it shut down for renovations, it felt like the perfect stupid adventure. The window near the gym was already busted, so we squeezed through one by one, giggling like we were 10 again. The air inside was thick with dust and that weird, old-school smell of waxed floors and mildew. Our phones were the only light, cutting through the dark hallways where we'd once run around without a care. It felt surreal, like stepping into a time capsule, AT first. It was all jokes and loud echoes, pointing out our old classrooms, mocking the cheesy posters still hanging in the halls. But then Jake froze mid-laugh, his flashlight fixed on the floor near the art room. There were McDonald's wrappers, still greasy, and a pile of cigarette butts that hadn't been there more than a few days. The laughter died fast. We all saw it at the same time. A rolled-up sleeping bag in the corner, a dented can of beans beside it. Someone had been staying here. Recently. My stomach dropped, but before any of us could say a word, the door at the end of the hall slammed shut with a sound that made all of us jump, that we stood there for a second, dead silent, just staring at each other like one of us might have an answer. Then Emma, always the one to panic first, bolted for the door we'd come in through. The rest of us followed, our footsteps way too loud in the empty halls. But when she yanked on the handle, it didn't budge. Locked. And not just stuck like locked, like someone had turned the deadbolt from the outside. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. Jake tried shoulder checking it, but it didn't even shake. That's when I noticed the smell, something sharp like gasoline or cleaning chemicals, creeping in from somewhere deeper in the school. We were all talking over each other, voices low but frantic, trying to figure out if there was another exit, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, half expecting some dumb notification, but what I saw made my blood turn cold. It was a photo, just sent to me, no contact name, no message. Just a picture of the 4 of us, standing in the hallway right now, taken from behind the art room door. The timestamp said it was taken 30 seconds ago. I turned the screen toward the others, and for a second, nobody even breathed. Then we all spun around, flashlights jerking toward the dark doorway down the hall. Nothing moved, but the air felt wrong, like we were being watched. Emma let out this choked sound, like she was trying not to scream, and grabbed my arm hard enough to leave marks. Jake started swearing under his breath. backing up until his shoulders hit the lockers with a hollow clang. My hand was shaking so bad, I almost dropped my phone. The photo was still there on the screen, us frozen in that exact spot, but from an angle none of us had been standing at. The worst part? You could see the art room door in the shot, slightly open, and now, in real life, it was closed. I didn't remember hearing it shut. None of us did that we booked it down the opposite hallway, not even caring how loud we were anymore. The emergency exit at the end was our only hope, but when we got there, the bar didn't budge. It wasn't just locked, it was chained from the outside, the metal links glinting in our flashlight beams. That's when the noises started. Not footsteps, not voices, just scraping. Like something heavy being dragged slowly across the floor, one long pull at a time. It was coming from the direction we just run from. I want to believe it was pipes or wind, but deep down I knew. Whatever was in here with us wasn't leaving. And it wasn't letting us out either, though we didn't speak. We didn't have to. All of us heard it. The scraping stopped, like whatever was moving had paused to listen. Then, so quiet I almost thought I imagined it, a click, like a camera shutter. My phone buzzed again, and this time I didn't want to look, but I did. Another photo. Just me this time, my face pale in the flashlight glow, eyes wide with terror. The background was blurry, but I could make out the emergency exit sign behind me. The timestamp was now. My breath came in short, ragged gasps. Whoever, whatever, was taking these wasn't just watching us. It was hurting us. Jake grabbed my wrist and dragged us into the nearest classroom, slamming the door behind us. The room still had little kid desks, the kind with the attached chairs, and we crouched behind them like they could somehow hide us. Emma had her hands pressed over her mouth, tears streaking her cheeks. The air smelled like old construction paper and something sour like spoiled milk. Then the doorknob rattled. Not a hard shake, just testing. Like it was curious. None of us moved. None of us breathed. The rattling stopped. Then from right outside the door, slow, wet inhale like someone sniffing the air. The sniffing sound was too close, right against the door crack. My whole body locked up, muscles screaming to run, but too terrified to actually move. Then a new noise, fingernails dragging down the wood, one slow scrape at a time. Jake mouthed, "Don't move," but it didn't matter. The second the scratching stopped, the door handle turned. Not jerked, not forced, just turned smooth and easy like whoever was out there had every right to open it. The door creaked open an inch. Pitch black in the gap. No flashlight, no shadow, just nothing. Then my phone lit up again. Another photo. This time, it was all four of us huddled behind the desks. The angle was from inside the room that I don't remember screaming. I don't remember standing up. Next thing I knew, we were all sprinting down the hall in blind panic. No plan, no direction, just away. The emergency exit was chained. The front doors were deadbolt, but there had to be another way out. That's when we saw it. The janitor's closet, doors slightly ajar, the same sharp chemical smell pouring out. Inside, the floor was covered in Polaroids. Hundreds of them, all of kids, some blurry, some too dark, but one clear as day in the mess. Us, standing outside the school earlier that night, taken from the trees across the street. That's when the closet door slammed shut behind us. The last thing I saw before the lights went out was my own face in one of those photos, mouth open mid-scream. The power came back on with a flicker, and we were alone. No chains on the doors anymore. No sounds. No photos except the one still in our phones. We ran like hell, not stopping until we hit the parking lot, gasping and sobbing. The cops found nothing when they searched the school. No bed, no wrappers, no signs anyone had been there. Just dust and a broken window. They said we were drunk, imagining things. Maybe we were. But 2 weeks later, Jake texted me a screenshot. Some random account had tagged him in an old photo online. It was our elementary school class picture from 3rd grade. Except in the back row, where the teacher should have been, stood a tall, blurred figure. And it was holding a camera, though we don't talk about it. Not really. Emma moved out of state, Jake won't go near that part of town, and I still check every photo on my phone twice before opening it. The weirdest part? That Polaroid of us screaming, it's gone. Not deleted, just gone, like it was never there to begin with. Sometimes though, when my phone glitches or the Wi-Fi cuts out, I swear I hear it. That same slow, wet inhale, right behind me. I was the last one left in school that day. Just me, my camera, and the hollow echo of my own footsteps bouncing off the lockers. The yearbook committee needed atmospheric shots of the empty halls. And as a senior, I figured it'd be one of those dumb, nostalgic things I'd laugh about later. The place was dead silent, the kind of quiet where you catch yourself breathing too loud. I remember the way the late afternoon sun cut through the windows, throwing long shadows down the hallway, making everything look sharper, almost unreal. I snapped a few shots near the stairwell, adjusting the lens to catch the dust floating in the light. That's when I heard it. A single locker slamming shut upstairs. Metal on metal, way too loud for an empty building that I froze, my finger hovering over the camera button. Just the building settling. I muttered, like saying it out loud would make it true. But then another locker slammed, further down the third floor hallway. One after the other, like something was moving fast. My stomach dropped, but I forced myself to shrug it off. Old schools make noise, right? I kept walking, aiming for the West Wing, but then I heard it again, my name. A whisper, barely there, from the men's restroom doorway. It wasn't a question. It wasn't friendly. It was like someone knew me and had been waiting to say it. The second I turned, the lights above me flickered, and the restroom door swung open just enough to show pitch black inside. No footsteps. No one there. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. I took a step back, my sneakers squeaking against the wax floor, way too loud in the silence. The restroom door had stopped moving, but the darkness inside felt wrong, like it was thicker than it should have been. I told myself to walk away, but some stupid part of me made me call out, "Hello?" My voice cracked. No answer, just the hum of the overhead lights. Except now, it sounded uneven, like a dying engine. I lifted my camera, half as a shield, half out of reflex, and pointed it at the doorway. The screen showed nothing but black. Not even the outline of sinks or stalls. Just void. That's when I booked it. I didn't run toward the main exit too far, just bolted for the nearest stairwell, my camera banging against my chest. The fluorescents kept stuttering, throwing the hall into these weird, jagged flashes of light and shadow. I hit the stairs two at a time, but halfway down, I heard again, my name. This time from above me, like whatever was had followed. I didn't look up, didn't stop, burst through the first floor door and sprinted for the front doors, already rehearsing how I'd explain this to security. But when I grabbed the handle, it didn't budge. The metal was ice cold, even though it was May. I yanked harder. Nothing. That's when I saw the chain looped through the push bars, padlock from the inside, that I rattled the chain again, my palms sweating. That lock hadn't been there when I walked in. I'd swear it. The custodian always left the doors unlocked until 6 p.m., and my phone said 4:37. I whipped around, scanning the empty lobby. The trophy cases reflected my own wide-eyed face back at me, warped and stretched. That's when I noticed the hallway behind me was darker than before, like the lights were dying in a slow wave toward me. I fumbled for my phone, thumb hovering over 911, but a noise cut me off, a wet, dragging sound like shoes on wet tile, coming from the math wing. Not running, not hiding, taking its time. Paragraph 6. I ducked behind the front desk, pressing myself against the wood. My breath came in shallow bursts. I could hear my own pulse in my ears. The dragging stopped. For a second, there was nothing. Then a low chuckle. Not playful, not human. It sounded like it came from everywhere at once, vibrating through the floor. I clenched my jaw to keep my teeth from chattering. That's when the PA system crackled to life with a burst of static, making me flinch so hard I bit my tongue. A voice I didn't recognize, garbled and too slow, drawled, "You're still here." Not a question, an accusation. The office phone behind me started ringing. The ringing phone was deafening in the silence. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The receiver clattered off the hook by itself, and the voice from the PA spilled out of it too, now louder, like it was coming from two places at once. "Look behind you." My body refused to turn. The air smelled suddenly sour, like old milk and something metallic. Then a thud, something heavy hitting the floor upstairs. Then another, closer. Whatever it was coming down the steps, taking its time. The lights above me dimmed, then brightened again, and in that split second, I saw it. A shadow at the far end of the hall, too tall, its edges flickering like static. It wasn't standing. It was leaning forward, like it was peering around the corner that I lunged for the nearest classroom, shoulder checking the door open. The room was freezing, the whiteboard covered in half-erased equations that suddenly looked like gibberish. I slammed the door shut and braced a chair under the handle, my hand shaking so bad I dropped it twice. The hallway outside went quiet. Too quiet. I pulled out my phone. No service, but the camera still worked. I pointed it at the door's window, zooming in on the hallway. The screen showed nothing at first. Then, pixel by pixel, a shape filled the frame. A face, pressed against the glass from the other side, stretched and wrong, like something trying to mimic human features but missing the point. The door handle rattled. I stumbled backward, knocking over a desk with a crash that echoed way too loud. The face in the window was gone, but the handle kept twisting, slow, deliberate. My brain short-circuited between fight and flight, but my legs finally kicked in. I bolted for the classroom's emergency exit, a flimsy door leading to the side parking lot. The metal bar gave way under my weight, but not before I heard the main door behind me swing open, hinges screaming. Cold air hit me as I spilled outside, but relief lasted half a second. The exit door didn't lead to the parking lot. It opened into another hallway. Impossible, we were on the first floor. And this one was pitch black, the floor sticky under my shoes. From the darkness, something exhaled. I turned to run back, but the door had vanished. Just cinder block wall where it should have been. The smell got worse, rot and copper, like a butcher's dumpster in summer. My camera strap tangled around my neck, choking me as I fumbled to turn on the flash. The light flickered, then died. But in that split second, I saw them. Lockers lining the hall, all slightly ajar, dripping something dark. A wet click echoed from the far end, like a tongue peeling off the roof of a mouth. Then footsteps, not dragging anymore, sprinting. I ran blind, shoulder slamming into lockers, until my hands hit another door. This one opened to the real parking lot, the sunset blinding after the dark. I didn't look back, didn't stop, just ran until my lungs burned, that I made it to my car, keys jamming into the ignition 3 times before the engine roared. As I peeled out, I glanced at the school. Every window on the 3rd floor was lit up, though the building had been empty. And in each one, the same silhouette, too long, too still, facing outward. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A notification from my camera, one new video file. I didn't open it. Not then. Not ever. But that night, lying in bed, I heard it again, my name whispered from the hallway. My door creaked, open inch. Nothing there. Just dark that I never told the yearbook advisor why I didn't get the shots. The next Monday, school was normal. No chains on the doors, no flickering lights. But sometimes when I'm alone in the halls, I catch a whiff of that sour metallic stench. And once, passing the men's restroom, I heard a locker slam upstairs. I don't stay late anymore. I don't even walk near that wing if I can help it. Whatever was there that day, it's still there, waiting. Because here's the thing no one talks about. Doors don't lock themselves.